you playing?
Hello, and welcome to What the Bleep Are You Playing? A podcast where we sit here and play a game many times bad, and then we tell you why the bleep we played it. I'm Sean, and I know it is all fake. I'm here with Thomas, who still believes in the magic. We're here with Cage Match Mason. And what's that? Who's that with the chair? Oh my god, it's special guest Kriss Benjamin! So how you guys doing?
I loved that intro. I'm doing great.
That's probably the most energy that you're going to get out of this.
Well, look, I
time.
had to
You
bring some
don't have
to this
energy.
game.
We are talking about wrestling. You need energy.
Maybe I should have drank should I have pounded away 10 monsters before I came
I
on?
mean, you should have done what wrestling did and pounded each other. Not in that way. Not.
Look, we already got the homoerotic part out of the way. So
Listen, I can pound myself. Never mind. Never mind.
What were you
So anyway, this week is Thomas's game, and Thomas decided to make us play WWE, I almost put an extra W in there, WWE All Stars for the PlayStation 3.
It's www.e.com.
I thought you were going to go with WWF. I was like, damn, old school.
Look,
Worldwide
the World Wildlife
Federation.
Foundation really made a great game for the PS3.
that's one of my favorite fun facts is that they had to change it because of the fucking Wildlife Federation.
Yep.
Oh god.
I also love how you described it as Thomas made us play it like he had a gun to the back of our head.
I mean, that is how we make up our games on this list. You know, you played Phantom Menace.
I did play Phantom
They
Menace.
hold guns to each other's heads. I heard they were playing wrestling, and I was like, can I play? Can I play, please? Can I play?
And Mason held a Wiimote to our heads and made us play Guild Vacation. So.
I fully believe that one.
You know what? I'm not even going to refute that.
I was there. I saw it happen. You were like, did you take it home yet? Have you played it yet? Did you take it home yet?
It's like a fucking crack addict. Did you take it? Did you take it? I need to get it.
Thomas, why did you choose the PlayStation 3 version and not the PSP or the Wii or the Nintendo 3DS versions?
Or the PlayStation 2 version.
Or the Xbox 360 version? Yes, there are that many versions of this game.
There are a lot.
There are a lot of versions of this game. Simply put, the PS3 version is the one I knew was actually passable, considering the fact that the PS2 version and the PS3 and the Xbox 360 version were both made by the same developer. The PS3, the PS2, PSP, all those versions were made by this company called Subdued Software. They made one game, and it was WWE All Stars.
Wow.
I think we're sensing a trend with a lot of our games right now that we've been picking that there is a lot of times a handheld port of this game, and well, it does not. Some other studio was like, yeah, we'll take this game and let's take a maybe not good game and let's make it worse.
And then that ultimately
get ready when we
kills
play
them.
GoldenEye Rogue Agent for the
Sweet Jesus. Why?
So anyway, yes, we played WWE All Stars. So here's a little bit about WWE All Stars. As Sean's going to read some Wikipedia to you today, because that's going to be my contribution, because you'll find out here, of this group here, Kriss is filling in more because Sean knows nothing about wrestling.
I wasn't even told that's why I was brought in. They were just like, yeah, you can join. And I was like, wrestling.
Well, you have an energetic response. You were like, wrestling, and Sean was like, oh, God, wrestling.
I was like, isn't that Hulk Hogan? Isn't he a part of that?
He was for a while. And then he made his own company called TNA, which was actually pretty fun to go watch. They were kind of hinky. Like, okay, so here's the thing.
what?
Vincent McMahon was very sketchy in his treatment of wrestlers. And then if you thought he was bad, Hulk Hogan was worse.
Sketchy, to put it very lightly.
Like, I sometimes wonder why all those wrestlers in the 80s stuck around as long as they did, considering all the shit they had to go through. Granted, quite a few of them were on cocaine. But this is not the point. It's the 80s. Everyone was.
It's the 80s. These guys are rich out of their minds, so yeah, they're going to be doing
You
cocaine.
see, not really. Most wrestlers, unless you are Hulk Hogan or nowadays John Cena, you're probably broke.
Yeah. Well, and especially in the 80s, because here's the thing, is you had to transport yourself to every new match which was often across straight lines. You didn't get paid for it. You had to pay for your own hotel. You had to drive yourself. You had to pay for your own gas. If you wanted food or anything, you had to pay for all of that. You were covering all of your expenses. You were getting paid a little bit of money for being on TV, but really not that much. Not as much as they deserved, considering how much effort they constantly put in. All the training they had to do, they didn't really get paid for that.
That's
Basically, wrestlers were minor league baseball players, is what you're saying.
Pretty much.
I don't know shit about that, so let's go with yeah.
I mean, pretty much, yeah. And to make it worse, that's still how it is nowadays. But at least nowadays, they get a couple... Well, it was when Vince McMahon ran the company. Now Triple H runs it. It might be different. I don't know. But nowadays, the wrestlers at least get a couple days to relax with their families before big pay-per-views. In the 80s, especially if you were Hulk Hogan, that was 7 days a week, twice on Sundays.
They get toy money now, though, don't they?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, because they didn't used to get money for the toys that were made off of them. Like, you didn't get money for your facial rights, but now they do. So you can make more money off of wrestling now, unless you are someone who happens to strike it really fucking big, like The Rock, Hulk Hogan, John Cena. You are probably not going to be making a lot of money off of this.
I mean, in fairness, The Rock didn't become The Rock in terms of like what he is now. Dwayne Johnson, sorry. The Rock did not become Dwayne Johnson until shed off the wrestling persona and only recently came back to some of the wrestling persona stuff once The Rock was himself, a very, very, bankable person with or without it.
Most people nowadays forget that he was ever a wrestler.
Yeah.
Which I think is his intention.
And he's in this game, and boy, does he look, we determined he looks kind of like Vince Vaughn.
Christ, he does. I forgot you said that.
I assume we can get more into the visuals later.
Yeah.
I believe this started with you were going to read some Wikipedia.
Yeah, no, Chris has already taken us down a rabbit trail, because, that's what we're here for.
It's a podcast. That's what happens.
WWE All Stars is a professional wrestling game published by THQ and developed by THQ San Diego for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 systems, and Subdued Software for the PlayStation Portable, Wii, Nintendo 3DS, and the PlayStation 2 system.
Yikes, a 3DS version?
Look, 3DS fighting games are already bad. Now just imagine...
Now just imagine it with wrestling.
I have a 3DS at the moment. I kind of want to get it and play
No, you have a
just
DSi.
see. Oh, fuck, yeah, you're right.
Say what?
Why do you know my system better than I do?
Look, I'm smart. It's all good.
I don't know about that.
The game features current and former WWE wrestlers competing in fast-paced wrestling matches. It was released on March 29th, 2011 in North America, April 1st, 2011 in Europe, and is the only WWE video game to be available for the Nintendo 3DS. And it was the last WWE video game to be released on both the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation Portable. The Pisp's last game.
Whoa.
Or last WWE game.
Last WWE.
So it featured a bunch of different gameplay modes. The big thing that was the marketing one that I was the Path of Champions, being able to go through a 10-match gauntlet. That was one of the big marketing things that they did on it.
That's basically, if we're comparing this to fighting game tropes, that's the arcade mode.
Mm-hmm.
That is, you pick your wrestler. You can customize one if you want. I made good old Bill and never played as him. You pick your wrestler. You go through this path. You can pick either you take on The Undertaker for the original WWF Championship, Randy Orton for the modern WWE Championship, or Shawn Michaels and Triple H D-Generation X for the Tag Team Championships.
Thomas already knew everything I was going to read there. Thomas got it. Bam.
God, sorry, man.
No, you good. I'll take it. You did that from your head. I'm like, yeah, that's the up.
Way to do Sean's job for him.
No more about wrestling, Sean.
Look, I have an unhealthy amount of wrestling knowledge in my head.
Honestly, I love that for you. I'm not going to lie. I think it is healthy. I think you're doing great.
It also featured a fantasy warfare mode, which involves a series of 15 WWE Dream matches that pit legends of the past against a characteristically similar modern-day superstar. Mm-hmm. This is actually, as I said, just a subset on this. It's actually kind of cool. Not knowing a whole lot about it, but I honestly also they spent a lot of time putting together videos for this one.
I fucking love the videos because if you don't know, I mean, Sean's probably the only one here who doesn't know. They do hype packages for matches at pay-per-views, and they're so stupid and cheesy, and I love them. So they do that for these Fantasy Warfare matches, and I think they are amazing. Specifically, the John Cena Hulk Hogan one. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah, I was
one.
gonna say I think I showed you that one. Did I show?
I did not see that one. I did see the one for Andre the Giant and Big Show because I played as them. I got my ass fucking handed to me. And am I allowed to cuss on here?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I got my ass fucking
Someone
handed
doesn't
to me.
listen to the podcast and but still gets to be a guest. This is
I can't focus on shit, okay? I try.
anyway.
Anywho,
You are fidget. You look like you're doing a drum solo, bud.
Chris did copious amounts of cocaine before doing this podcast.
in the true spirit of WWE.
Bringing the 80s back, baby!
I played as Andre the Giant and I got my ass handed to me by Big Show, and I played a bunch of other people and I got my ass handed to me every single time.
I could just
I'm not good at fighting
I could just
games.
imagine Chris coming into work the next day, running around like Ultimate Warriors and trends, like, banging on.
Yeah. He takes the bookshelf.
Oh god. I go into my quiet bookstore where we have classical music playing to set an ambiance, and I'm just like jumping and yelling the entire time.
Look.
So the development on this game,
Okay, I do have notes on the development.
it was first announced at E3 in 2010, also with WWE SmackDown versus Raw. Both games were announced at E3 in 2010. All Stars was the first game to be produced by THQ San Diego. Many of the team employees had worked at Midway San Diego, the studio that developed the first TNA Impact professional wrestling video game. It is the second WWE game produced by video game designer Sal DeVita, the first being WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game.
Wait, the arcade. Is that the one with the Mortal Kombat graphics?
Probably. It was Midway, so.
I do remember that.
So, THQ San Diego, formerly known as Midway San Diego. Do you mind if I go into a bit of their history?
Have at it, Thomas.
Okay, so just some of the games they developed. Cruisin' USA for the N64.
Okay.
Rampage World Tour for the PS1. Freaky Flyers and Gauntlet 7 Sorrows for the PS2. Hydro Thunder and Off-Road Thunder for the arcade.
I love Hydro Thunder. I love that
You
game.
got very happy.
Mason's face just like lit up like a little kid in a candy.
That was like
store.
one of my
I'm
favorite
pretty
games.
sure in a couple of... isn't that one we're playing in
I
a
was
few
going to
weeks?
say that's on
That
the
one's, yeah,
season
that
list.
one's on the list. I loved that game to death.
I was very excited to hear that.
That was like the
Oh,
that
so
was
we get
like
to come back to this studio
yeah, we get
here
to
in a
come
few
back
weeks.
to this.
not only was that like one of the first video games I ever played. I'm pretty sure that's one of the first arcade games I ever played.
But
You're young.
I know.
I'm pretty sure the first arcade game I played, I was like 5 or 6, and I'm pretty sure it was one of the X-Men arcade games, like the X-Men versus the
was it like
X-Men
Children
versus
of the
Street
Atom?
Fighter?
Or-
No, it was on like it was arcade. It was because it was a fighting game. It was either X-Men versus something. It was X-Men. It was X-Men oriented because I played the Cyclops.
When we say arcade game, we mean literal arcade.
Literally
like
at an
cabinet.
arcade.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the arcade
Pac-Man.
cabinets.
Oh wow.
Mrs. Pac-Man I played a lot of until I didn't play Pac-Man until later.
First arcade game I ever played. I forget what it was, but it was one of those driving games where.
Galaga. I played Galaga a bunch also because
But-
my dad loved it. Anyway, I interrupted Thomas
yeah,
there.
But yeah, we're going off tangents a lot. This is going to be a great episode.
Look,
no,
we're all
this was-
jumping off the road. We're each person
I
trying
came
to.
and I
It's-
gave everyone secret cocaine, so this could be the messiest episode yet.
What is the difference between cocaine and secret cocaine?
You didn't know you were taking it.
I was on the Taco Bell. God damn it.
That only you ate.
It passed on to the rest of them through
It was
like
in
the
the air.
influence. Yeah.
I
This
put it in the air.
this was the second to last game THQ San Diego ever made, ever released, I should say. Their last game ever was Darksiders 2.
Oh.
Yeah. So a bit of an odd shift, but yeah. This was one of the last games they ever made, and when you look at their history, combined with the arcade games and stuff, and the fact that they made the NFL Blitz games, which is another taking these kind of realistic characters and making them do this cartoony, over-the-top bullshit, you kind of see why they were the ones selected for this game. So at least there's not the question there like there was with Marvel Nemesis and Phantom Menace.
That's fair.
I think I would actually have preferred if it was an arcade game, honestly.
If this was an arcade game?
Yeah.
I kind of do agree, because let's put it this way, this feels like it should be an arcade game.
Yeah.
Because you know how they used to have arcade games and they would get a console release with more stuff in it?
Mm-hmm.
This still feels like it's the arcade game because there is stuff that is kind of missing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I won't say, like...
Characters. Specifically one character.
We'll get to that. There's just, like... There is Path of Champions, there is Fantasy Warfare, but overall there is still some content missing. Like, a story mode would have done good. Not like a massive one, but just something like maybe taking your character on through this small journey, something like that.
Yeah. Maybe. But they decided they were going to just, punchy.
Very punchy. This
But
is very
also punchy when the hitboxes aren't 100% there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I was describing it a lot of ways is I think they were trying for the feel of wrestling and that that it is fake, and all those sort of things. But I think
How dare you?
I think at times there were times in playing this where I would literally hit the person and nothing would happen, but they would go like to the side of me and I'd go flying and I'm like,
That did happen to me a few
there,
times.
The controls were not great. I don't know if that's a control issue, but like it was.
some of it is just the they were 100% I think going for the flair of wrestling, which by doing some of those things means that controls don't respond always at the best.
It is one of those things where you're right. They are going for the flair of wrestling. Because when you watch wrestling, there's all this flippy-dippy bullshit, all these slams and stuff. But the difference is in there, it's scripted. So
Yeah.
you can control what events happen. In video games, it's not scripted. And especially in something like this where they're going more over the top and Eddie Guerrero can throw you 50 feet into the air, it's a bit like, what the fuck do I do? What just happened?
Yep.
I didn't mind some of the like over the topness. My issue came with like the cage match because I did play quite a few cage matches and I got my ass handed to me by John Cena 3 fucking times. And
My
here's the
time
thing.
is now. You can't see me. My time is
Damn it.
now.
I would be climbing up on top of the cage. He would climb, and somehow he would climb faster than me, and I'd be like, how the fuck are you doing that? And he would climb faster than me, and instead of going over the top, because it's a timing thing, and the timing thing was really difficult, I'm just bad at timing challenges. So that was probably more of a me thing than a game control thing. But then he would decide to, like, jump off his side of the cage to me, and he would not even approach me, but him just jumping off and landing would send me as Triple H flying, and then I'm stuck on the ground for 5 seconds as he goes climbing back up, and I'm like, no! Get back
Some
here,
of
you
the
little boy.
some of the stuff like if you're gonna make a fighting game out of it, like these larger than life, clearly the animation and the style is meant to look like smashing your toys together, then that's okay. Like, we're not pulling punches if we're playing with our toys.
That's something I told Thomas while we were playing against each other. I was like, they look like Robot Chicken characters.
They really do. Like, as soon as you said that, I just imagined a skit with, like, Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan, but it's the fake, like, paper mouths or whatever.
This feels, I said, is this the jump force of wrestling games? And then it's the toys. It looks like the toys.
It's the Marvel versus Capcom Infinite.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
No, just the look is striking. Which, to segue from that a little bit, is despite how it looks, this game was received really well.
I'll say that I think it is a very fun game.
It was, and I say very well, but just considering the games that we have played here and some of the reviews that we've had at times, the fact that it got, a 75 out of 100 on Metacritic on both the PS3 and the Xbox 360 is pretty good reviews. It would get 7 out of 10s from GameSpot and IGN. The Wii version would only get a 6 out of 10. So, sorry, Mason. Once again, vigorously shaking your Wiimotes.
One day the Wii will be looked at as like one of the all-time great consoles.
I don't know about that.
Today
I
is
do
not
think
that
people
day.
are going to look upon it fondly with nostalgia because, at least for our age, that was like the console for when you were a kid,
Yeah.
growing up, playing like Wii bowling with your friends
You're
and shit.
saying that you don't look at the Neo Geo Color nostalgically?
How dare
The
you?
what now?
Honestly,
All right, well, I think we have to
probably
ban
look-
Mason from this podcast
I
now.
probably look at Ataris and Super Nintendos because we had those in my house when I was growing up with more nostalgia than the Neo Geo Color.
How dare you? You
Where
tell-
else were you going to play King of Fighters on when you were 6 years old?
No, nowhere. I was too busy playing Tetris.
How dare you? How dare you not go to Latin America and find all the arcades where King of Fighters is like a fucking religion there?
For anybody who's listening right now, fun drinking game you can play anytime Thomas says "How dare you?" Take a shot.
You'll be dead.
Liver damage.
Fucking
Anytime
Let's play a
I
game
get
of
mad
liver
at Mason
damage.
for being young in any of these.
Yeah.
Does it count when I called them a baby earlier?
Yes.
I think that should. Take a drink retroactively.
Okay, and start drinking and don't stop whenever we go on topic. Why are there like 16 deaths on our hands?
the
Breaking news.
From the
podcast.
reception, we'll segue over to a little bit of just talking about this game. I'll just, I'll lead off and just say that my first thought process on this game was, I bet if you sat down with like 5-6 friends and drinks and, at home, this would be a pretty fun game, honestly. Like, this is a fun party game. Sat down and played it by myself, and I go, I probably would have given up on this game after about this playthrough. It clearly is a game that could be a lot of fun, especially with people who don't know what they're doing, playing together. But as a fighting game, this game is sorely lacking.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it is.
That's fair.
But I mean, even as something to like that effect, there've been other fighting games that do that better, in my opinion. I think Smash Brothers Brawl would have been out by that time. If not, Melee definitely would have been out at that time.
Brawl would have been
Brawl
out
would have
because
been, yeah,
Brawl
Brawl,
was
absolutely.
2008.
I feel like that would be far better for that sort of
Look, PlayStation All Stars had come out at this point. You can...
PlayStation All Stars. It's not even that great, but it would be better.
How dare!
I said not great. I didn't say not good.
How dare!
There are other games that can do that sort of situation better.
I think there's going to be a lot of my same repeating that I said with Marvel Nemesis of, this is a fun game, but, man, I think if they try a little bit different style, they might have had a better game.
This is
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I do agree. It's very much a party game. Like, we didn't get the chance to because I'm cheap and didn't buy other PS3 controllers. But I really wanted to try a 4-man match because that was really fun. I remember back in the day when I did it. Back in the day, I'm 24.
Are you 80 now?
I mean, look, in fairness, it's an almost 14-year-old game, so...
That's fair.
And I feel old. But yeah, I remember when I played it with my friends and my dad, because my dad's a massive wrestling fan. He was the one who introduced me to wrestling. So he played with it a lot. Played the Ultimate Warrior because he's his favorite. And I played Undertaker. Constantly got my ass kicked. But it's one of those things where when you get a bunch of friends together, this is very fun. It's less fighting game and more party game, which is what wrestling games usually are, but they still had these kind of fighting game elements in there, so it's very kind of a weird mixture, this game.
I will say, I think it is very much like both of you are saying about the experience of, like, I don't know about party game because I've not played this as a party game, but I did get to play it with Thomas behind me telling fun facts, which made it way better for me because I do like wrestling and I like fun facts. So he was giving me wrestling fun facts the entire time I was playing. And then later I was watching Thomas playing and I was telling old wrestling stories that I could remember. And I think that was a wonderful experience.
It definitely feels like a game that is, in a lot of ways, a love letter to wrestling fans. Is kind of what it's trying to do. It's definitely trying to be like, hey, you remember this or this guy or what this happened or this thing? What if this thing and this imaginary thing happened? What if this? It definitely feels kind of like a what if thank you to fans, but which I'm sure that's why maybe it was received so well, because I think wrestling fans probably would enjoy this game. And it sounds like, Thomas, you and your family, friends, people who enjoyed wrestling and had wrestling as a part of your life were like, yeah, this is exactly for us.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. Like, Mason, you brought up Smash Brothers Brawl, PlayStation All Stars, and all that. And I do agree, those are better party fighting games, but they're not wrestling games. And when you have wrestling basically in your DNA, kind of like, that sounds like my family is wrestlers. No, we're not. But when you have wrestling just inserted into your mind as much as I do, as much as my family does, I don't know about Chris, but I assume you have a lot of wrestling.
So my mom actually, when she was a little kid, her only bonding activity with her dad was they would actually go to wrestling matches, and she got to meet a lot of the old 80s wrestlers who are really famous now. I think she actually at one point did meet Andre the Giant. So when I was growing up, that was something that my parents used to bond with me, and how I bonded with my grandfather is through wrestling and through WWE and watching a lot of those. And then TNA was really cheap to go to, so my parents would take me to TNA matches when I was younger, and I met both of the Hardy brothers and I have pictures with them, and I got them to sign a belt that I had, and so yeah, it is pretty much ingrained in me, and I did really enjoy this.
Yeah, because that's the thing. This is not a super. I should probably save this for the wrap up.
No, it's fine. It's fine. We do this all the time. We fill in our things, and then we're like, oh yeah, we're to the wrap up stuff. Let's just reiterate things, which is perfectly fine.
Right, that's fair. But this is very much this is a game made for wrestling fans, and I feel like if you're not, which is why I feel like Sean is probably going to be the one who's harshest on this game.
Probably. I don't foresee myself being super harsh overall on this game, because legitimately the time that I spent in it, I didn't hate it. I got frustrated a lot, but I don't look at this the way I look at Go Vacation.
Poor Mason.
All right, well, thanks for having me.
And now taking over his position permanently. No, I'm kidding.
Part of my goal apparently in this podcast is to make sure Mason never forgets how much I hate Go Vacation.
You just don't bring it up for the rest of the episode, and right before it's like, and have a good night, everyone. Go Vacation fucking sucks.
Damn it.
But
anger wanking.
What now?
Oh yeah, you haven't listened.
You haven't listened to the podcast. Look, the part of the Go Vacation is a lot of stuff you had to anger wank.
As in masturbate?
Yeah.
As in, look, do you have to do this with the Wiimote?
Oh, I don't like the way you phrase
Angrily.
that, because then I have the image of you like playing a video game and being like, this sucks so fucking much, I'm gonna go masturbate, and I don't need that.
And now I have the image in my head of just this red-faced, furious Sean masturbating like a motherfucker, like,
Whew. All right, this podcast is off the rails. Thank you all for joining me.
This went to some weird places.
Aren't you glad I'm the special guest star?
Goddamn Go Vacation is all we gotta say. It caused it again.
Anyways, back to the game we were actually talking about.
Back to
doesn't
the
bring me-
Dorito wrestler.
So I want to.
yeah, back to the 3D. They do look like 3D.
They're
Doritos.
so buffed up, and their heads are so like. It's fine that they buffed up the chest, because like I get that they want to make them look more masculine, and that's how a lot of the figures were. But at least on the figures, they would at least. I mean, their thighs were always small as hell, but they would at least proportion their head a little bit better. Instead, you have Triple H walking around like his head is like a little pin.
It looks like the stretchy ones, the ones that
It doesn't
got
look
the
like the
stretch
stretchy
out.
ones.
It reminds me of, like, I don't know if you've ever seen that comic panel of Captain America's like side profile, and his chest is like
Oh, the Rob
fucking
Liefeld
massive.
thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember
It's
that.
that's what it makes me think of. But thinking about what you guys said earlier about how it's like it's a WWE game for like wrestling fans, it kind of ties into like my biggest issue with this game is that I don't really necessarily think that it is, and even if it was a WWE game geared towards wrestling fans, at this point we already have the 2K series. It started in the year 2000. It's been established up until now. So like, why wouldn't you play any of those
there's-
games?
I have a question.
Yes.
Who do you think a WWE game is going to be geared towards? If not WWE fans? Because you said even if it is, who else would it be geared towards?
I mean, they're not going to say about geared towards, but, you know, I think what Mason's saying is that there is a better WWE game.
Yeah, that's what I'm gearing towards. Not only is there would there have been a better WWE game that year, there would have been better WWE games many years prior.
I guess the thing is that, well, yes, there are multiple other WWE games. There's not a lot like this, is the thing. There's not a lot with the fantasy warfare elements. I mean, there are things where you can make these fantasy matches. Like, I haven't played every single wrestling game ever made. God help me, I probably will one day. But
support this podcast and help Thomas's addiction.
Play every WWE game. The next one.
The eventual Patreon, it's like, donate $100 a month and Thomas will play every WWE game.
How many rich people y'all got listening to your podcast?
I mean, we got people in Belgium. I assume they're rich.
I'm just saying that there might be someone who is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make Thomas have this addiction. Oh
yeah, let me make.
I don't like the way in which you said that.
Let me force him to play WWE Raw on the original Xbox.
Just like
fuck!
Throwing $100 bills. Dance for me, bitch.
But yeah, there's no wrestling game that's quite like this.
And I think
you can make the wrestling matches, but you aren't going to get these hype packages anywhere else. You aren't going to get this sort of aesthetic of these cartoony styles anywhere else until Battlegrounds, which fucking sucked.
I definitely do kind of feel like that if there wasn't already an established precedent for like what a WWE game is, and like for many years prior, then it would be better to me. But
this is coming from the former Midway Studios, and like they were not uncommon with taking a sport and trying to make a new version of that game out of it. Midway, made NFL Blitz. They made MLB. What was the one where you could throw at people's heads? Oh, that game was so much fun. They made NHL Hits. They made different versions of games for any kind of sport. So it's not uncommon for another studio to try to make a new game for a sport. And it's clear that they were going to try to cartoon this game up a bit and turn down the realism. It just sometimes the cartoon is glaring because then you have your 3D Doritos fighting.
Yeah, I guess I kind of feel like that there isn't enough of a separation between cartoony WWE wrestling and the more simulated version that you would get in other WWE games. I don't think there's enough of a separation. It's like the separation that you get from like playing Gran Turismo versus Mario Kart. There's enough difference between the two that there's enough value from playing one and playing the other. But with All Stars, I don't really feel.
I do agree with that. Where were you?
I was going to say, I don't necessarily see a need for a separation because wrestling in and of itself is very goofy and kind of cartoony.
But that's the thing is like the simulation tries to have the fun in it, and I think the separation is that they should have maybe gone further to the cartoony.
Yes. Oh, okay.
That's what I think Mason tries to say is that it should have been more cartoony.
Because
lean away from the lean completely away from the realism. Go crazy.
Give them superpowers. Like that would have made it so much better.
Like I bring up NFL Blitz as an example of it as an example of going away from the established at the time. Madden was king. There were a bunch of other NFL games, but Madden was still the king of football games. And then NFL Blitz hit arcades and then 64. And, you played 8-man football. And you could throw the ball deep. And you could take off people's heads. It was insane. And, but nobody else said, wow, this is a football simulator. No, this was a fun arcade game. And I think that is more what Mason's wanting them to lead into, if I'm understanding right. Is to more of the extremeness and silliness instead of trying to just make a wrestling game that's slightly sillier.
Yeah. And I do agree with that. And it reminds me of this game that was in development. It was actually going to release after All Stars, but it was canceled because THQ went. It was called WWE Brawls. And basically the whole aspect of that game was the WWE All Stars got superpowers, and they straight up they were still doing wrestling moves, but it wasn't inside the ring. It was in like the streets, and you would play as Big Show and like throw the Miz through 6 buildings and shit. And I'm like,
I would love that.
The Miz deserves to be thrown through 6 buildings. Just saying.
But yeah, like, I do kind of agree, and the more you say that, yeah, there is a lot of missed opportunity here. Again, we do have Eddie Guerrero and John Cena, like, throwing you 50 feet into the air to do their moves, but why not have it to where, like, you know, maybe, like, they straight up take the ring and, like, use it as a weapon or something.
Like they could break through the
I
ring.
mean, look,
Yeah,
you
something
already
like that.
have basically giving Andre Giant the super punch. Like,
Yeah.
and his power,
Yeah.
his punch is, you know. So, like, they definitely were toying with some ideas in this.
Because like imagine if one of the fighting modes that you can do is the extreme rules where they have like buckets of weapons next to each other, and it's all the basic stuff like baseball bats and stuff like that. But imagine like they had buckets to the side and they would pull out like massive fucking cartoony sledgehammers or like a giant like stick with a rubber duck on the end. Like think of how ridiculous they could have made it. And
Basically, you're wanting Bugs Bunny to wrestle John Cena.
yes,
I would love that shit.
I was gonna say, fucking hell, I would love the shit out of that.
Unironically, that is what I want
Like you-
now.
like you-
I will not accept any wrestling game that does not have
you reach
Bunny
into
and John
you
Cena.
reach into the can and you pull out an anvil that you can then throw at the other. Like
So
was
somehow
just-
Mason is going to try to combine cats with wrestling now.
With wrestling. God damn it.
it's just Rum Tum
There
Tiger
is your
just
weekly
swinging baseball.
There's your weekly podcast reminder that Mason chose Cats as his #1 movie that needed a
The
video.
live
game.
action one?
Yes,
Yes.
the live
With the
action.
spiked penises?
Yes.
Why is that where you went?
Because there was a rumor on Twitter for a while that wasn't real, but I never watched the movie, so I can't confirm whether or not it's real.
That was the movie that I wanted to get a tie-in game because I wanted it to be a Just Dance clone with
Go
with
listen to the
Cat's
podcast,
characters.
and you can just listen to literally the life falling out of Thomas and I as Mason is talking. Just
Okay, that is not what you got slapped for, but I think that is what you should have gotten slapped for.
No, it probably is. But, oh dear.
But yeah, that's just what I'm trying to. Is that I feel like with All Stars, I just feel like they went too safe. They went too safe, and they held back a little bit, and it should have been more ridiculous.
I think they went too safe in several directions. One, in the silliness, but two, in the character choices. I've been waiting to yell about this. They are all giving me a look because they know it. Some of the character choices are very plain. Like, they're fine wrestlers, but I don't know anyone who's like, oh my god, Sheamus is my all-time favorite. Or who did you unlock that you were like,
Jack
why?
Swagger.
Jack Swagger, of all people. Like, you have so many choices. You could have put in the Boogeyman, or even like anyone like my all-time favorite. The Boogeyman would have been cool in this one, but my all-time favorite is Batista, and I am ridiculously mad at the fact that they got Sheamus, Jack Swagger, Randy fucking Orton over fucking Batista, who also has the coolest intro. That would have been great for this game because they have the intros. Coolest intro.
Yeah, I do have a lot of names that are missing from this game that I just raised an eyebrow at. And a lot of these I thought, oh, well, they might have been with TNA at this point. But this game was being developed in 2009, and I watched a WWE pay-per-view from 2009 because I'm on a kick. Haha. And a lot of the names that I'm thinking of, I'm like, no, they're still there, so what the hell? Batista was one. Another one was Ric Flair. Ric Flair isn't in this game. And
Very
that's
surprising.
I was going to say, because, like, you think of wrestling, you think of three people, well, four. Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Ultimate Warrior, and Ric Flair. Those are four of the big
I named
ones.
one of those when I was asked to name wrestlers, and I named one of those. And it
Depending on which generation you actually started with, those might not be the first four you would think of, because Thomas probably knows a bit more about older wrestling than I do, whereas I started watching when I was born, basically. So the 2000s were my generation, who are people that are, like, more on there. Like, there are ones that I would expect to be on there. But Ric Flair, even if I'm going to name four wrestlers off the top of my head that I would expect to be on there, Ric Flair is one of them.
Like, that man's
No
been-
matter when you started, he is wrestling. He came out in that robe with the hair, yelling, and he was wrestling.
That man is basically a human cartoon character anyways, so that
Yeah,
it
so-
would have
I love that
been
man.
easy to make cartoonized.
But there's also, like, I'm mostly mentioning this for my dad because it's his second favorite wrestler, Lex Luger. World's strongest dude. Not really, but he was a big buff dude. He was the narcissist, then Hulk Hogan left, and he became the American hero because Vince McMahon likes his big, blonde, sweaty men.
Don't we all?
I was gonna say that's definitely Mason's type.
But yeah, he's not in here. Kevin Nash and Scott Hall aren't, which again, those two, they were Diesel and Razor Ramon. And again, those two are two big ones where it's like, okay, they may not be the biggest, but still, they're the NWO.
Oh yeah, I was just thinking because I was thinking more of new wrestlers, but if you're combining the older wrestlers and the newer wrestlers, which is the thing of this game, those are people you would want to include on there.
But even if we're talking new wrestlers, ones that I think are really missing, and especially because it would have made for a great Fantasy Warfare match with one of the DLC teams, the Hardy Boys.
So
Hardy
the
Boys
reason
are
why
in this
they are
game.
not in here, I'm pretty sure, is because they defected to TNA in 2008, and they stayed, if I remember correctly, they stayed all the way up until like 2016, 2017, because I was seeing them at TNA matches right around this time that this
That's
game
the thing.
came out.
That is true. They were at TNA in 2011. But this game was being developed in 2009. Guess who the fuck was on a WWE pay-per-view in 2009? The fucking Hardy Boys.
Oh shit, I thought they
Specifically-
defected earlier than that.
No, Jeff Hardy was on there. He might have left around the time of this development, to be fair, because I don't know when in 2009. And the pay-per-view I watched was fairly early, like April 2009. But it's still like, okay, just imagine, there are some DLC characters that I also think should have been in the base roster. Chris Jericho, I think, should have been in the base roster.
Yeah.
Again, one of my dad's favorites. The LOD, Legion of Doom. I'm doing this. Hey, Dad, I'm doing this for you. Oh, what a rush! That's the thing. But just imagine the Legion of Doom versus the Hardy Boys. That would be a great fantasy.
That would be
match.
great.
I do think that they potentially wanted to do more, because when you read behind the scenes a bit of the DLC stuff, and because they shut down online mode pretty quickly.
Oh, there was an online mode?
Yeah. By 2013, the online mode was shut down.
Oh, that's not very long at all.
That's not long.
So, and they only did, what, 3 DLCs? 4 DLCs? 2 or 3? It was
There
not very many.
was Big Boss Man, Chris Jericho, Ted DiBiase Jr., and the Legion of... Yeah, I think there were only...
Yeah,
like a
so there weren't
couple.
that many, and I think they were... While this game was received fairly well, you know, there was other WWE games that came out right afterwards and later that kind
Which I
of...
brought up earlier.
Yeah.
Now, here's this is my last fun fact of this game on this was... in 2011, it was nominated for Best Fighting Game at the Spike Video Game Awards, but it lost to Mortal Kombat.
I mean, not surprising.
The remake?
Yes.
Yeah, that's gonna blow
No,
it
the
right
80s
out of
one.
the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one
In 2011, it lost.
Yeah,
to,
the one from
No,
1999.
it lost to
with
Mortal
3 characters.
Kombat versus DC, the best one.
Oh, Jesus
Oh, God.
Christ.
I think to kind of follow up on Mason's like making this game a little more bolder and things like that, or make it a little more cartoonish, or finding more fun in this game. Going back to the first podcast, I think that if kind of this game and Marvel Nemesis, like both of them, like combined what they were trying to do, I think that's where we get what we have. What I was talking about in Marvel Nemesis, wanting to make it more of a party game. And if this game was more extreme in it, if more of like the fun stuff, whether it was superpowers, just more of the cartoonish, the destructible environments that kind of are in Nemesis and things like that. Like if you combine those two games ideas together,
I mean,
I think we fixed both of them. Look at that.
You can't even say, "Oh, wrestling doesn't have destructible environments."
Oh,
Have you
it
seen
so
some of those
does.
Have you
They
seen some
destroy
of
those rings so much.
Yeah,
they
the
destroy-
amount of wrestlers that have gotten, like, they would take off the padding on the side of the rings and, like, use it to whack each other, but they need stitches in their heads because they would hit the poles straight on.
Or, dude, have you seen those backstage brawls? They're
Oh,
throwing,
yeah.
they're throwing each other through windows. They're hitting each other with cars.
They're throwing.
They'll
through
specifically
TV
put in
sets.
breakable tables in the ring during certain matches so that way you can have the image of someone slamming someone else through a table.
And sometimes they won't do that. Poor Spanish announce table. That thing has been abused so much.
Oh god, yeah, the announcer's table has been destroyed so many times.
This is why WWE Street sounds super cool, and now that I'm like,
I will say,
Honestly,
NFL Street, NBA Street, and I was like, WWE Street. Can you imagine, like, jumping off of, instead of, like, the ring, you're jumping off of buildings into each,
Again, that canceled WWE Brawls game. I found that out. I found out about that like a month ago, and I'm still fucking sad that got canceled. I will show you footage after this. It's very depressing.
There's footage of it? That's
Yes.
awesome.
Oh. I will say another way they could have made it sillier is also just like some of the characters that they used. I'm going back to the characters thing because it just it's not. I'm not even talking about the characters that are like my personal favorites that I think they should have included. But given the fact that they were kind of leaning into the cartoonish, and then they chose some of the plainer looking wrestlers, such as I'm really gonna slam on Randy Orton here, but Randy Orton.
Well, he is a very basic.
He looks like a Barbie version too, like not even really good. But,
I think that
These
if they
characters
wanted
do
to
look
bring
like
in-
Barbies. Like
They
they,
do
Yeah.
look like, yeah.
they look
really.
plastic as hell.
Yes,
I think they
but
even-
like if they were gonna like really do like lean into the silliness, they could have brought in some of the silly characters, like I said, the Boogeyman, or what was his name, the little short guy.
The
We just talked about
Hornswoggle.
it, the
Hornswoggle.
Hornswoggler. Like there were some really ridiculous wrestlers whose whole thing was to be absolutely ridiculous.
Bring in Doink the Clown.
Here's another thing. I think they could have gotten away with like the roster that they have in the game if they could add like more outlandish outfits. Dress him up a little bit. They put Kane in the game. Kane isn't even wearing his fucking mask.
He
Like-
does. He has one alternate outfit. They have alternate outfits in this game.
Oh, they do. I didn't notice that.
They do. I only noticed it because when you play the Fantasy Warfare mode and you play as Kane, he has his mask.
I was gonna say I thought Thomas played him as his mask.
Yeah, trust me, I don't blame you because I was bitching about that too because I fucking hate Kane without his mask.
So a lot of the characters in these they've like when I see Kane in the game without his mask, I think of that scene in Predator where where the Predator takes off his mask and Arnold goes, "You're one ugly motherfucker."
I haven't seen. Weird off topic. I haven't seen Prey. God, I hope they say that in like Comanche or something.
Yes.
Or whatever the language is. That's probably racist as shit. I'm sorry.
It's all good. Like, definitely dating this podcast now. And someone in 3 years back goes, "What the fuck is Prey?"
Yeah,
Anyway.
what's Prey?
I've heard really good things about the movie. I haven't watched it yet.
I haven't either, but I heard it's really.
I've
damn
heard
good.
it's
I've heard
fantastic.
great things.
Anyway,
Go ahead.
But yeah, it's it's one of those things. Again, bringing up the WWE Brawls thing, they didn't have a lot of legends in that game, but they did have like designs for some of the wrestlers, and even the more plain ones they do insane shit with. Sheamus, who the fuck cares about Sheamus? But in that game, he's like this Scottish warrior. He's got like this flaming sword and shit. I'm like, that's cool.
So he's like the
that's
Scot from the Scottish guy from Samurai Jack.
Yes, exactly. They do that. They make Sheamus the Scot from Samurai Jack.
See,
it's
and then I
amazing.
wouldn't complain about Sheamus being in this because otherwise he's just. I don't think I have ever met a single person who's like, you want to know who my favorite wrestler is? Sheamus.
Yeah.
And I know some people with some weird opinions, but I've never met anyone who was like, Sheamus, all-time favorite wrestler.
I mean, and
He's
they
boring, at best.
bless the hearts of the character designers. They do at least try to make him a little more exciting. They give him Goku hair. They tried.
His
but
hair's
at the
just
same
like that.
time,
I was gonna
Is
say
it
his
really?
hair.
Yeah.
I was gonna say his hair's
But
just
he's
straight
an
up like that.
insanely boring character. Because, of course, it's wrestling. It's all scripted. They all have characters. He's an incredibly boring character. All of his moves, the names are all very basic. All of his moves are just very basic in general. He comes out and he's the most basic. Like, he actually has some cool intro music of the bagpipes, or he did for a
Yeah.
while. But other than that, very basic, boring man.
Sheamus's whole thing can be summed up with one sentence, and it's "My name is Sheamus, and I like to fight," and that's it. That's his character. He does have one of my favorite bits in all of WWE, though, because there was an episode where the Muppets guest starred, because of course there was, and he saves Animal, not Animal, fuck, he saves Beaker, who also has the really spiky hair, so he saves Beaker from the bad guys, and then he spikes up Beaker's hair.
Oh my god. I love that.
I gotta find that.
It's amazing.
Huh.
But wrestling's so fucking stupid. It's my favorite thing.
It is. It's so amazing because wrestling really knows what it's about, and what it's about is being absolutely ridiculous while being half naked and punching other men in the face. You gotta love it.
And see,
Exactly.
that goes back to my big problem with All Stars is that I wish they would have leaned into that more. Like, make it crazy.
Can you imagine a visual novel that was a wrestling?
Oh my
It kind of exists. There's a game called, it's visual novel elements. There's a game called Fire Pro Wrestling World or whatever. It's based on New Japan Pro Wrestling, not WWE, but it's a wrestling game, but in between matches, it's a visual novel.
You know what? Fantastic.
Love that.
Just the next Phoenix Wright game is gonna have WWE.
Guess Phoenix Wright, guest starring Jonathan Q. Scene.
So on this podcast, we like to ask 2 important questions of every game. This is probably one of the more modern games on it, so this is going to be interesting as we go. But how does this game hold up is our first question.
I think even if I played this game when it came out, I'd be like, this looks like a PS2 game. This is a game made for the PS3, looks like a PS2 game.
And that goes back to just how plasticky these characters look.
And I mean, if they had definitely leaned into the not fighting simulator more, and a lot of it, I think some of the designs and the look and the controls would have been more forgivable. But like, not that like it's still like I'm like PS3. You didn't have like the super in-depth graphics, but I remember playing like Madden or any of the NBA games around that same period of time, and like being like, oh yeah, I can tell who the main people are 100%, and their faces are looking closer and closer. You know, some people are way off, but like it just, for as small as the roster actually is, for a game that promises to be this massive roster, it's, you know, you'd think that they would have gotten the faces down more. So graphically, it doesn't really hold up.
Like you said, The Rock looks like Vince Vaughn. Oh, who's the really bad looking one?
Andre the Giant's face is so bad.
Oh, his face.
Andre
is
the Giant's
really
face
bad.
is really fucked
Andre the
up.
Giant looks like Clayface.
Yeah,
really
it's
does.
really
Yeah.
bad.
Oh, God,
Although I will say it's really funny because one of the
Oh, Jesus, Edge.
Edge
Edge
looks
is
bad.
Edge
face- oh,
looks so
God.
fucking terrible.
Funny-
I mean, to be fair, he has a very smug-ass face in real life. It's kind of why I love him. But yeah, he looks like that fucking TikTok filter with the narrow chin and
Yeah.
everything. That's
I
what
will
he
say,
looks
Edge
like.
in real life has the face of someone who needs to go into a job where he gets punched regularly.
He does.
And you know,
That's why I like him.
the funny thing about Andre the Giant though is that they do kind of make him like cartoonishly huge. That if you have him and you're fighting him as Rey Mysterio, it's the funniest shit in the world.
Because that is what he was like. You do not understand. That man was cartoonishly huge.
Yeah.
Next to the
That-
other wrestlers, it looked like you were like
like
making shit up.
especially Rey Mysterio, who's like one of the
was gonna
shorter
say,
guys.
That motherfucker would hold like regular sized beer.
Let's say that.
Okay, you can
No,
say
no,
it.
go ahead, your story.
Okay, this motherfucker would hold like regular sized beer cans in his hand, and he would grab them, and it would be like, you know those old vines where the short person would grab something, throw it, and it would be like miniature in the other guy's hand? That is what it would be like.
yeah.
Like they'd be like, hey, Andre, want this soda? Sure. And it'd be like in the palm of his hand or some shit.
Just ginormous, man. Just ginormous.
And God,
Like, your TV can never do that man justice.
God rest that man's soul.
As far as the gameplay on it, most of it holds up fine for what it is, gameplay-wise. It's just, it very much feels like as a game that wanted to do something, and so they dumbed down a lot of the controls and a lot of things, and there's not a lot of complexity to it.
And I think that kind of comes down to this being more wrestling game than fighting game, but still trying to combine the two, as well as the fact that this game did come out alongside SmackDown versus Raw 2011 or WWE 12 or whatever, because it's just because WWE pumps out these games like nothing else, and it's
Yeah.
Moneymaker.
yeah, exactly. And you know what? All right, possibly hot take. WWE 2K22 is good. Fucking stop. All right, just take a break. Make a really stupid ass wrestling game. Bring back WWE Brawls or something. I don't care. Just I'm sick of the fucking simulators.
They're not
But
going
they're
to
gonna
stop
keep doing it
this is
because
what's making the
every
money.
year
I
it's
know,
the same.
but
It's
The
the same.
viewership goes down, their app makes no money because nobody fucking subscribes to that anymore.
No.
Actually, I think it's shut down if I remember correctly.
I think so because you can honestly watch it all on Peacock. That's why I watch it.
I mean, they're not gonna, because the yearly simulators, the 2Ks, you know, they do it for every sport. The roster update, the little things on that, they're gonna do it every year because that is just a huge money. Because look, I'm someone who bought like 7 years of Madden in a row at one point in my life. Like, yeah, there are people that just every year you want to buy the next version, even if it's just a slight change.
Here's what made All Stars pretty funny for me though is that I have 2K22, which as of right now is the most recent WWE 2K game. Playing All Stars and then playing 2K22 night and fucking day.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
They are
Well, 'cause
two very different games.
I played 2K22 as like a free trial or something, and it is actually very fun.
It's a fantastic, fun game.
I will say that, and the simulators, they're fun. I'm tired of them.
That's fair.
I want my NFL blitzes back. I want my NHL hits. I want the stupid sports games back. Give me, what the hell is it? I mean, Warhammer Blood Bowl kind of does that, but it's very different.
I mean,
very,
the last
very different, so.
very outside of Mario sports type game I can think of would be the Mutant Football League on the Switch.
Oh Jesus, yeah.
That game's decently fun, but yeah, it's still.
I haven't played it, but yeah, I'm just realizing. Yeah.
That's the last thing I can remember, but it seems like all of us kind of agree that like this game doesn't really hold up over the time on this. It has its elements, but
it didn't hold up when it released.
That's fair.
Some of the controls are ass, but it's fun.
I was gonna say I think it is a fun game, and I think it's one of those things where does it have flaws? Yeah, but I will still love the shit out of it because I love the shit out of wrestling, and this is a celebration of wrestling. So
our second question that we always ask is, do you think this game deserves a remake or a reimagining? And I think kind of we've more or less answered a lot of this, that a reimagining but going full cartoony would very much be in the interest of it. I think in bringing fans, even new fans out, if you did something outside of the norm maybe, or did something different. Instead, you're tired of the simulators, so something new to it.
I mean, sorry, I keep bringing shit up. There was a mobile game back in 2015, WWE Immortals. It was made by NetherRealm Studios. I mean, their mobile division, obviously, but it was made by them. And it's that. It is wrestling, but they're doing stupid-ass shit, and they're, like, being superheroes or whatever.
It's the Injustice mobile game, but with
WWE characters.
That's cool. That's legitimately cool.
And it's literally like Triple H is like this Viking motherfucker. John Cena is a literal superhero. Batista is a literal animal, like he's a fucking werewolf.
Fuck yeah.
Stone Cold Steve Austin is, because he's stone cold, he's literally like an ice dude.
See, that would be so cool. Like, reimagine these games.
And that's the thing. I want so bad for that to be released for console. I don't give a shit if it's the exact same game. I just want it to be released for the fucking consoles. But no, it's just mobile, and it was delisted, and I'm upset.
Yeah, that's the type of reimagining we'd like.
Yeah, just go full. I feel like I've kind of dominated this podcast.
No, you're fine. I think it's kind of in all of it, but you're also the passionate one about this. Behind Chris is just... Ugh. Where's Batista?
I only brought that up twice. I had other things to
You've also
say.
been twitching about it, though, the entire time.
I twitched about everything. It's not that. It's that I'm twitchy.
Sorry, the cocaine.
It's only 70% Batista. No.
30% cocaine. Get it right. I'm kidding. I don't do cocaine.
I do kind of wish Batista was... At least I need something to do his intro well. Because he has a kick-ass intro with the machine gun thing.
That's the thing that gets me.
And he's in another game that kind of tried to redo this in a more cartoony way, WWE Battlegrounds. The problem is that game is not good. It's very live servicey bullshit. It looks somehow worse than All Stars, and it came out a year ago. It looks fucking hideous, seriously.
That was the game that we got instead of 2K21 because 2K20 was such dog shit.
Yeah, 2K20 was a disaster.
That they were like, all right, we're going to put this series on a one-year break, but here's another shitty game to make up for it. You're welcome.
Yeah, and it's such a... And Batista's intro in that game, Chris, you know it, where he slam, machine gun, and the fireworks go off.
Yeah,
Here,
slam, leg slap, machine gun, fireworks.
You know what it is in that game? He does the machine gun thing, and there's literally pop, like one firework behind him, and I'm like, that's so fucking lame.
His intro is so over the top because it's WWE. Their intros are all over the top, but his is legitimately so cool. Oh, Triple H's is so over the top. His intro is so cool, and given that they give such focus in these games on the intros, I don't understand. Just not even from the perspective of someone who legitimately loves Batista and who growing up had like 6 different Batista action figures. Like his intro alone for something that's so focused on it is so great because it is over the top. It's fun. It's great to look at. There's great audio to it. his like song fucking slaps. Like, it's a good intro to include.
WWE intro songs in general fucking slap.
They do. They pick some great songs for those. Shawn Michaels had an amazing theme song.
Honestly,
Oh, no, keep
we
going.
should talk Randy Orton a lot. His theme song fucking slaps.
Randy Orton sucks. I hate his character. I hate his face. I hate everything about him. But his theme song is legitimately good.
Bringing up the intro, so that did remind me of something I meant to bring up earlier. Loading screens.
Oh, this.
My God,
yeah,
this
we're in
game
the- we're in
goes.
the PS3 loading
This
screen.
game
That's right.
goes off on loading screens.
There
Like,
is
there's
so
just-
fucking many.
You
loading
gotta load in. You gotta load in the intros. You gotta load in both. There's loading screen. There's the venue intro. There's the first intro. Another smaller loading screen. The second intro. Then another loading screen for the actual fight. It's
That
There's
was a
lot of
huge
loading
problem with
screens.
PS3 style games and even PS4 of just the amount of loading screens that had to be in games.
It's like, hey, you want to play the game? Too bad. Loading screens.
There's a lot.
All right. So I think we can really sum up this entire game and the thoughts on it by literally what Chris just said. Man, I wish this game had more fireworks and fun in it.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, yeah, like just more
It
absurd bullshit.
I think they played it too safe.
That makes sense.
I will.
on
Yeah.
that.
Sorry, I had this on a note.
Thomas has a final thought. Play us out, Thomas.
Another thought out of nowhere.
It's a very stupid thing. The fantasy warfare mode, we brought that up earlier. Some of those matchups, like some of them are legit cool. John Cena versus Hulk Hogan, obviously that's a good one. Kane versus Jimmy Superfly Snuka. There was another one that was really good. God damn it, what was it? Shit, I can't remember what it was, but there was one. Bret the Hitman Hart versus Edge, really good one.
Yeah.
Then there's some that have been done. It's like, I get that, they need to fill them out, but it's also like, when they've been done a million
I
times,
was
it makes
gonna
them
say
feel
that.
less special.
There's
Like,
some that are very basic and expected, like Andre the Giant and Big Show.
yeah, which to be fair, that didn't happen, but what did happen, Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio, happened. Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, happened twice. They're two of the
More than
greatest.
twice, I think.
That's true, but the two big times are the two WrestleMania matches.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, they're the two of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time, but it's happened twice. Rock versus Triple H happened like every other fucking week.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just one thing. Is again, that kind of goes back to what we said about the game. It doesn't go whole hog with its concept. Like
WWE All Stars. It's a game. It is a game that kind of did not live up on its potential, but Thomas holds it deeply in his heart.
yes,
Mason wants more MGK in it.
honestly, I was surprised. I what I wanted to do, but I forgot to do it. They do have a character customizer.
Was make
It's better than I thought it was, so I wanted to try and make
what
it
3D
Dorito.
Dorito.
Yeah, somehow you can't exactly. You wouldn't like it. You can't make him look like he's one cigarette away from death. He'd still look fucking jacked.
I was hoping, praying that we could go the whole.
No. I waited to the end. So that's it. That's the podcast. That's our wrestling episode for this season. Don't worry, Thomas has many more. Help us.
There's a good chance I might hijack every single
Chris
one.
may come back as a guest. Thank you for coming on, Chris.
Thank you guys for letting me.
It was very fun.
Glad to have you on it. And next week, we're going to do something completely different. Bumblyberg is in trouble, guys. So buckle up.
If you like
And-
to talk to tomatoes, we've got a show for you.
Get ready. And we'll see y'all next time.